beyond frustrating. Portland business owner, tired of crime and vandalism, looks at relocating. Oftentimes we focus on businesses that have already left. This is kind of midstream, that process. Here we've got a guy with kind of a commercial trucking, U-Haul, storage, warehouse type business structure going on. And he's been robbed and basically attacked so many times in the city of Portland that he's reimagining and rethinking his future in Portland. Let's check it out. Let's see what we got going on in Portland. Here we go. Michael Angelicchio, owner of Nevis Pack and Ship in Northeast Portland, said he has spent more than $20,000 combating the crime. Not too long ago, the owner of the custom packing and shipping company, Nevis Pack and Ship, expanded his business to include U-Haul rentals. Michael Angelicchio said that it had been nothing but problems. We've had constant vandalism on the vehicles, stolen tires, Angelicchio said. And just this week, someone siphoned and stole gas out of a U-Haul. We're hearing that more and more because gas, well, you need it to run those generators. You need it to run those broken down RVs. You're using it in the homeless encampments day in and day out. You know, since they don't have regular power and they're kind of dirtbagging that lifestyle entirely. Somebody steals some gas? Yeah, that's worth some money. They will either trade that for drugs or whatever. Get a little money out of it, they're good to go. Get that next fix, you're good to go. That's what so much of this is based on. So what happens then is more than just dealing with that, Angelicchio said. The equipment is down. We have to go through a whole process, and we can't make money on that. We're losing money having to deal with that. Here's what I know you're going to say. Who cares? This is the policy that you voted in. Yes, that is true. And so many of the folks that are struggling with their businesses have probably contributed to the policies going on. Because when you look at how badly Republicans get beat out in a town like Portland, I mean, it's a shellacking. It's a shellacking. So the vast majority of people in a town like Portland, they're choosing to go a little different direction. And public safety, when you defund the police like Portland did, this is what you get. Now, you've got some folks that are just trying to, make an honest living, and that's what we've got here. So this guy has to confront the fact that, you know what? Portland may not be in the near future. Portland may not be the space that makes sense for me from a safety standpoint, let alone an economic standpoint, to run my business. It would be one thing if this was an isolated incident, but Angelicchio said his business on Northeast Airport Way has been a magnet for crime for months. It's beyond frustrating, he said. All right, but it's not beyond frustrating because you're still running your business there. You're still keeping it going. So the fact that you've had your business in that location probably for years, it means that you are tied to the community. And I think that's where there's so many folks out there, so many honest, hardworking folks trying to run a business and, try not to have their profit walk out that front door in the 5-finger discount or have it be taken from them because they got to repair that front door. They got to repair that glass. They got to invest more in security. We're reading about that day in and day out because on a lot of retail businesses, it has just been open season for shoplifting. We've just gotten to this point in society where we've said, it's okay to shoplift. It's a crime of need. And it never is. It's a bunch of drug addicts stealing to get their next fix. That's what you've got going on. It's not that hard to figure out. And I almost guarantee you every single one of these break-ins was based on the same need. We need cash for our next hit. This is what we're doing. Or it's cash for a lifestyle that is, revolves around crime. That's what we're talking about. The owner said catalytic converters have been stolen off the company's trucks. They're now parked inside the warehouse at night, but they're not even safe there. Angelicchio said thieves have tried knocking down the garage door to get to the trucks. At what point in time do you just say, no mas, we're done here? And that's the storyline that we're following. That's the storyline, because this isn't going to get better anytime soon. We just had, Mayor Ted in Portland do a 90-day reset, right? Safer Summer PDX. We're going to do that. How'd that work out? Well, according to this guy, who's a legit business owner, not too great, not all that well. Things are not going, in the right direction after the 90-day reset. Not happening. Additionally, crooks have attempted to gain access to a locked shipping container in his yard that was damaged in the process. Angelicchio said he had to buy new lockable dumpsters to curb illegal dumping. So people are literally just taking their trash to his dumpster. That one to me, okay, so at least they're putting it into the dumpster, right? They're not dumping it out on the sidewalk. But he's got to pay that bill. He's paying somebody else's bill for, trash that those folks should be putting at their own complex, wherever they live. But instead, they're living on the sidewalk because that's how they, afford their lifestyle of just 24/7 drugs. And that's how they're able to do it. You take advantage of everybody else. You have everybody else pay your bills. You steal from the community. And I've said so many times that once businesses get smart and figure out ways to kind of lock things down, shut things down, like San Francisco, Target, you've got this one Target where you've got like literally 2 small aisles and everything else is locked up. And so you have to go to this customer service kiosk and you place your order, you get all your stuff, they bring it up to you, and you pay for it. You've got all this stuff you got to do before you get your goods. Stores are going to start doing that. Costco, just read a big article on Costco, why they're not impacted by shoplifting nearly as much as some of these other stores like Target and Walmart. And it's because they've got basically one way in and one way out. In order to get in the store, you got to have a membership card. On the way out, they check your receipt. And those receipts have a bunch of stuff. They can tell, the people checking off those receipts, they can tell if the receipt was printed yesterday, if it was printed today. They can tell if there's big ticket items on there. They can tell if there's paper towels on there. Did this person steal this receipt from somebody else? Did they find it in the store from somebody else? All these different ways of kind of checking, did this person purchase the actual goods that they're pushing out of Costco? So all of those things, and the main thing being the in and the out, where you've got people checking and oftentimes multiple people checking on the way out. That reduces the ability for somebody to just walk out the front door with a 70-inch TV like we saw at Target in downtown Seattle. That guy's just huffing and puffing because, playing tug of war with the TV with the security guard, that's hard work. You have to take a little breather outside. That's on this podcast, on this channel here somewhere. A video of that. It's so ridiculous. I just got through another one in Seattle where these folks are living in a greenhouse. They're living in a greenhouse on the sidewalk, complaining that it's so damn hot inside. Because greenhouses are for plants, not people. It's my pro tip of the day, right? Don't live in a greenhouse. They get pretty hot. Don't know if you knew that, but even in May, late May in Seattle, greenhouses tend to retain that heat. Well, and that's the ridiculousness you've got going on in a Portland, in a Seattle, in a San Fran. You've got this ecosystem of drugs that everything kind of revolves around, addiction. And so it's going to keep on going. Why wouldn't it? Because in Oregon, you've got some of the worst rates of getting people the treatment that they need in the United States. I believe the state of Virginia is the only state that is worse at getting folks the addiction help that they need in the entire United States. I mean, Proposition, what was it? 114, I think in Oregon was supposed to really help with that. The decriminalization of drugs. It's supposed to really help with that. It's supposed to help get people into treatment. It hasn't really done that at all. And, this storyline right here is an example of that, because these thieves are so persistent at getting into his shop because they know there's good stuff in there. There's stuff that they can pawn, stuff that they can sell. So they're trying to get in there. They're trying to get in there and get that next fix. There's nobody there to bear that cost other than myself the owner of this business said. All right, and insurance, but you've probably given up making an insurance claim long ago because that's not feasible. You got to have insurance to run a company. And if you don't, you might as well call it good. And so you can't call your insurance carrier. Yep, been broken into for the 32nd straight time in 24 months. Can you help me out? Can you pay all these bills? Can't do that. It's a no-go. It's where a lot of employees don't really understand how insurance works. They just think, it's an insurance deal. Not a bit. It's what you got it for. It's there. But when you have, it's like your car. If you have more and more wrecks, there's a point at which the insurance company is going to say, you're not a good enough risk. We're not insuring you. And your premiums will go through the roof. So not only are you out the money on the extra premiums, you could have your insurance premiums, double, triple, quadruple in a short period of time. Well, there goes a certain percentage of your profits. And if you're dealing with, broken storage units and, people siphoning gas and people taking catalytic converters, all that comes out of the bottom line. And eventually you have businesses just leave. That's what this guy's kind of working on, right? He's kind of working through. Angelicchio said the unnecessary crime has cost him anywhere between $25,000 and $30,000. That is not uncommon. Now, you take $25,000 or $30,000 out of your family's operating budget for the year. What does that look like? That's not good, is it? You're going to have to whack something. So these businesses are running on a shoestring, trying to stay open, hoping that things are going to get better. And it's not, because you can't hire cops fast enough. You can't throw people in jail fast enough for breaking in and, doing all this craziness. You can't arrest people for doing drugs because you can't really arrest people for doing drugs anymore. It's just, you got a personal amount of drugs. It's all good. You're fine. We don't even arrest you for that. It's a lot for a small business operating on small margins. Yeah. It's like the family with the budget. You take away $25,000 or $30,000 from that family's budget, a couple of grand a month. What are you going to cut? What are you going to cut from your budget for, let's call it $2,500 a month? What would you cut from your budget? You got to whack $2,500 worth of stuff. Tell me what those cuts are. These businesses are making the exact same decisions. And again, I go back to, all right, but they knew this going in. They knew they were in Portland. They may, or their family or, their friends have probably contributed towards the policies that has led to this situation here. So at some point in time, you got to kind of say, yeah, but you choose to still be there. Now, where that gets tricky is uprooting a business from its location, especially one like this. You're talking some small tech company, they can probably go in office space wherever you've got internet, right? And wherever you've got the labor pool to make that go. But for a structure like this, you're going to be renting out RVs. That's a physical location type deal. So even just changing the address of your work establishment is a major undertaking. It is such a pain in the ass to do that you don't want to do it. You're just like, all right, I'm going to hunker down and see how this goes. And if you're making money, you're still able to cover those bills. All right, then you just keep fighting the battle. And that's what this guy has done. Because moving outside, maybe the area outside of where he's operating is saturated with this type of business. He doesn't want to go there. Yeah, he might have some crime happening against his buildings and his operation, but he's still able to get through it. And if he picks up and moves, then he's going to have to basically start over with new clientele. Yeah, and I'm just saying stuff that oftentimes happens. I don't know if this particular business that would apply, but oftentimes there is, in the evaluation of business's worth, there's the factor of it used to be, hey, you're still in business. Your fax machine might ring, meaning you might get just a random order for whatever your widget is. And if you're in business, that's part of the valuation. So, this guy being in that certain location, there's a chance, and he wants to keep that chance open that people are going to return to him because of that location within the community. He's built all these relationships over the years. He's got a banking relationship. He's got vendor relationships. He's got all this stuff that he's built up over the years. And he doesn't want to give in to those criminals that are trying to get their next fix. So yeah, there's this constant battle, and you will see that in the media on an ongoing basis. But we're also kind of getting tired of it, right? We're kind of like, all right, we've heard this story 100 times. Just give up and move on. And that's where I think a lot of these business owners are at. We're seeing that specifically down in San Francisco, even though the mayor is saying, well, it's about reimagining retail, the way retail goes now. Now, a lot of changes with retail. That is true. But specifically in a town like San Francisco, that's had more than its share of dash and grab robberies and theft and homelessness and break-ins, just like this guy in Portland. So it's a lot for a small business operating on small margin. Yep. Okay. He said it's not sustainable, and it's led him to contemplate moving his business out of Portland. And that's what I think you're on the verge of seeing a ton of, because, like a lot of other issues that you can just kind of take care of with some new policy, you've opened up this Pandora's box of addiction. And that's what most of this hinges off of. Addiction to drugs, the whole homelessness, the whole camping, wherever the F, the whole homeless encampments, all built and based on drugs. So unless you square away that addiction, you're not going to square away the true cause for what's going on in a city like Portland. And if you have some of the worst addiction services and ability for your residents, ability for even your homeless residents to get that help, it's not going to turn around anytime soon, because the drugs that these guys are on now, they're so strong that they will do anything. If you have any contact with police officers, ask them how a drug addict does right after they've been Narcaned. What do they do? Well, they deny the fact that they've ever been on drugs, and they try their best to get the F out of there because they're detoxing. That Narcan that's been put in their body has basically mitigated the effects of how they normally feel high on fentanyl. And so they got to Johnny on the spot, go get their next hit. They got to go steal something. They got to figure something out, get something from somebody else, and try and pay them back, whatever, street honor. Yeah, I'll pay you, next Tuesday for a hit today, that kind of thing. We're trying to exhaust all of our options, he said. I was born and raised in Portland. I still have a love for this city. I think there are lots of great people here, but something has to change. There's a lot of that going on. People questioning, should I stay in Portland? People questioning, should I stay in Seattle? I've got enough reasons to stay here. I just do. I've also got a lifestyle that isn't based on, a business that is located in a location like this. I live in a suburb. I do business in a suburb, but, the master ship is downtown Seattle that kind of runs a lot of this. And when that thing goes south, then a lot of other things go south. So that's why we talk about the big cities. You've got a lot of suburbs around Portland that are doing just fine, that haven't necessarily gone down the roadways that Portland has, which is basically said, hey, we don't care if you do drugs. We're not going to throw you in jail. We're certainly not going to keep you in jail. You got a district attorney that's been really soft on crime up until this point. I am told that DA Schmidt, Mike Schmidt in Portland, Multnomah County, is now prosecuting misdemeanors. That'd be a big change. That'd be a big change. But how long is it going to take to start to get that word out? Hey, you can't necessarily, keep doing this. You can't rinse and repeat all this criminal activity. It's going to be a long time because these people need their next hit for them not to go into detox, not to start, what do we got going on here? That isn't going to just go away overnight. You can't just, create some policy and, all right, no more parking on that side of the street. Boom, done. None of that. You've got an addiction to work through, and everybody wants to point at housing. Just get them some more housing. It'll work. That whole housing first thing. No, you got to work on their addiction first, because that's what drives everything. You put them into housing, they're just going to keep going, like we've seen down in Skid Row in LA. And what do? They tear apart the housing. We've seen that in Seattle. We saw that during the pandemic, when hotel after hotel after hotel in various different cities build those cities millions and millions and millions of dollars, because they took all these people from homeless encampments and threw them into housing, which was hotel rooms, and they tore apart the hotel rooms. How often did that happen? All the time. I just did a podcast the other day. It was a $9 million bill that a hotel submitted to a city. I can't remember what city that was, but it was like, yeah, they tore apart the rooms, destroyed them. And, these people have psychotic episodes. They have psychotic fits. The drugs, and they're also oftentimes mentally really, really unstable. And yet for some reason, we find it compassionate to let these people do all the drugs in the world that they want, kill themselves with fentanyl overdoses, and live on our sidewalks in tents that we hand out to them. Somehow, that is compassion. I was also watching a story. I did a story the other day on harm reduction. There's these people in Seattle, these officials, health officials in Seattle, and they're on a different wavelength as far as drug addiction goes. They believe that part of harm reduction is that people may not necessarily have abstinence in their future, meaning if people want to do drugs, let them do drugs. All right. But it's killing them, and they don't necessarily have the ability to make a sound decision. So we got them hooked on drugs, and now we're just going to let them kill themselves. Where's the compassion there? How does that work? I know you can't force somebody to go to rehab, but the rest of us got to kind of, try and live our lives, run our businesses like this guy. And if that's not happening, well, then enough people pull out. The only folks that they're going to have to steal from, enough businesses pull out, are the members of the community that are still left living there. Yeah. And I think that's where we're on the turn, because you've got a lot of commercial enterprises really ratcheting down their security. They've got the money to keep up the security that they need to prevent these people from, breaking into their businesses. Normal mom, dad, a couple of kids, dog, pet, whatever. Not so much. So when the bad man comes to them, they're vulnerable. And I think that's what we're on the cusp of. That's the transition we're going to be on the cusp of, because you can only steal from businesses for so long and they make adjustments. Normal households, what are they going to do? All get guns? This is Portland. Yeah, they haven't really gone in that direction, right? This is Seattle. You got some gun owners in the suburbs. A lot of folks own guns in the suburbs here. Don't know if you knew that. It's a thing, right? Because that thing coming from the urban areas, well, we're going to stop that. There's going to be a little pushback. No, I don't think you're going to do that here. And here's why. It's not that hard to figure out. But I see so many stories in Portland where I'm like, okay, there's only one direction this can go. And if you're not able to steal enough to get your fix from the retail stores, the commercial warehouses, all the businesses, then you start going to the burbs, start going to the nearby burbs, and you steal from them. I mean, you got to steal from somewhere. It's not like this just disappears, right? Doesn't just disappear. So yeah, I think that's what we're on the front end of looking at in a lot of these cities. It's already happening because you've seen at levels of theft, and especially organized retail theft, which I think oftentimes is, drug dealers. They go ahead and they kind of organize, how this is going to go, and they send in homeless folks to do their shopping for them. Organized retail theft. Dealing drugs, dealing stolen goods. I mean, why wouldn't they? So oftentimes that's how that goes down. You've got people that are addicted, that they need that next hit. They get a shopping list of stuff. They go in and steal from the stores. Stores, they're going to try and combat that. They're going to come up with enough things where you're not going to be able to do that much anymore. Where are those folks going to go to get their next, few bucks to get their hit? They go into the community. They go into homes. I think that's what you're on the verge of seeing happen. Whether or not that actually does happen or is happening right now, yeah. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that notification bell, because those are the topics that I am covering on the daily here on News for Reasonable People. Thank you for being reasonable. Check out our Reasonable Plus, our Discord channel. Check out reasonabletv.com. That's our subscription channel. Got a lot of stuff going on. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the channel. The channel is growing rapidly because a lot of you guys are sharing this stuff. You're also telling me, hey, I used to watch this channel, but you've got so much content going on. I'm going to watch yours. Thank you for doing that. Thanks for being here. Much appreciated. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.